Hello, I'm Eric Windisch. I'm with Docker, and I am maintaining the Docker Nova driver and the heat drivers for OpenStack. Today I'm going to do a demonstration on Docker in Nova, the Docker Nova driver, which is currently in StackForge for installation. And I'm going to be using a project that I want to say I put together, but actually Paul Czar at Rackspace initiated this project, which is called OpenStack, and it allows us to run DevStack inside of Docker, and we're going to actually deploy the Docker driver inside of Docker with DevStack. So we're going to begin. So I'm here on my terminal, and great, live demos are awesome. Okay, we'll just fix that. Okay, now we're logged in. No, I should not be logging in as root, but I am. It's a VM. I don't care. So Docker is installed. I'm actually running a VM or a container already, but I'm going to first go through how to get OpenStack clone. So we're going to git clone this. Okay, that's pretty quick. And so we're actually inside of a OpenStack directory. Now this is based on, OpenStack itself runs Ubuntu. This is the Docker file. So those that aren't familiar with Docker, Docker has an image builder that's built into it. So what we can do is specify how an image should look, and then build that image. And it actually creates, well, an image, but actually there's some interesting features around how those images are different than most VM images or container images. But suffice to say for now, this image is based on Ubuntu Salsi. We actually have a version of this image that runs on Fedora that's a little less stable. It's a bit newer, but those that want to do Fedora, there actually is an option. So what we do is we're going to do Docker build. And this is going to now build this Docker image for us. And it will download all of the requirements for DevStack, all the Debian packages, all of the PyPI requirements, and so forth. And anything that's called a no prime requirement that's installed according to need is going to actually be downloaded but not installed. So everything, ideally everything that is needed to run DevStack is going to be encapsulated into this image, so that when you run it, instead of taking an hour or so, which is about as long as this build process will take that I just initiated, and we're not going to sit through the whole thing today, but when this runs and finishes, you're going to actually have an image that can launch in about 5 minutes to 10 minutes, depending on various factors. Some of those factors are things that have been updated since the image was built. So for instance, the demo I'm going to do today, a little Julia Stiles or Child's way, is that instead of running this image that we're building right now, we're going to run an image I built a week ago. And because I built it a week ago, some dependencies, some of the packages and so forth have changed. And when we run it, it's going to actually download all of the changes. So it'll download the deltas, which is why for me it took about 8 minutes to run the image instead of 5 minutes, because it had to actually download a couple things off the internet. So we're going to stop this build because we don't have an hour. We have 10 minutes. And we're now going to presume that it's been built, and we can now run OpenStack. So at the bottom of this window on the right-hand side, I'm going to use Docker run, and I'm specifying this as a privileged image, which is saying that this is essentially an uncontained image or an uncontained container. Now, most people are going to use containers and want to have some level of security that comes along with it. In this particular case, because we're going to do Docker inside of Docker, and because in this particular case I don't care anything about security, I'm going to actually run it as root as a process on the machine and make this a really fancy ch root as opposed to a secure container. Then I pass -v varlib docker. That specifies that we're going to make that a volume. And by being a volume, it will pass that directly from the host because we're using AUFS. And the importance there is that you need this parameter passed. That's all you need to know about and care about. But it's actually because of a quirk of the AUFS file system. And you can use Btrfs, and if you're using Btrfs, then you don't need to pass this parameter, I believe. There's other drivers such as VFS as well. So to continue, we pass -t and -i. When we pass these, it indicates that we're going to allocate a sudo tdy, and this is going to be an interactive shell with std input. And then the Docker image, which is presumably the image that we just built, but again, it's an image I actually built a week ago. So unfortunately, this part is also fairly lengthy. This takes about, like I said, 5 to 8 minutes. So it's a video, but I have fast forward. So you can watch how that very quickly downloads, again, some of the changes. I actually ran this morning immediately before the demo. And in a couple seconds, that will finish. There we go. So stack sh completed in 456 seconds. And then we can continue our demo. So I'm just going to clean up my path here. So Docker PS. So this is the instance, or the container rather, that we just launched and completed 456 seconds ago, which is why you can see 44 minutes ago on the status here, because I actually ran this this morning. So Docker attach. All right, so this is going to be the live part of the demo, right? Now we're in the container, and we can see actually we're going to do su devstack. And I'm using a devstack user instead of a stack user. It's actually, it doesn't matter, but I may change this image to use the stack user since most people use that. So I can source the files here because devstack is now running. And I can prove that with a PSAUX. And again, this is all running on the same kernel as the host. So this is just, we're inside of a container right now, and all of these processes, and I can actually expand this window. So all of these processes, Nova Network, Nova Scheduler, console auth, the heat engine, conductor, Nova Conductor, all of these are running inside of our container. And just to prove it a little bit more, we have our own virtualized network inside of here. So I can do a Nova list. We have nothing running in Nova. We can do a Nova image list. And so because of a quirk in devstack and the way that we're currently, the Docker driver is currently integrated in devstack, because it's in StackForge, it will actually download the images for Ceros that are not applicable to Docker, so you'll see them here in Glance, but we also download and installed the Docker image, and we can see that using Glance image list, that the Ceros latest image is a Docker image, as well as these unnamed images which simply have UUIDs. And then there's also, then you can see there's AMIs, AKIs, ARIs, which are not applicable to Docker, but these, again, are downloaded and installed, and they're in Glance, but we're not going to use those. We're going to use the Ceros latest image that's here on the bottom. I'm going to highlight that so you can see it. All right, so the next thing, I want to just show also we have a Docker registry. So the registry is another place where the images are stored. So Docker does has its own image service, and presently the Docker driver for Nova is going to communicate to the Docker registry, and the Docker registry communicates to Glance. So the Docker registry will act in a way as a proxy to Glance. And we actually have that running inside of a container, inside of a container. So we can launch an instance, flavor list, okay, Nova boot, flavor, let's do flavor 2, image, and we're going to do the Ceros image, and Docker container is going to be the name of our instance in Nova. So now it's building, and we can do Docker PS, and we can see communicating to Docker directly that that is now running. And we can do Nova Nova list, and we'll show that, well, it's actually showing it's still spawning, so that I don't know if that's a bug or not, or maybe waiting on something, but it is in fact actually running to some degree. It may be configuring networking. I'm not really certain. It does say no network, so it may be sitting up waiting for networking config. But that's how you can launch instances and set up the Nova driver. Okay. So that's pretty much a demo. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me directly. I'm Windisch at docker.com. You can contact me on IRC as Windisch, Twitter as Windisch, and thank you very much.